Hey, what's up, guys? John here. Well, 330 million Americans are paying attention to the border crisis and everything that's going on.
Growing crisis at the southern border.
Migrant encounters reached an all-time high in the month of December at more than 302,000.
What if I tell you this is the biggest distraction? Instead, the big story is happening behind the scenes that's getting no attention, that's 20 times bigger than what's going on with the migrant crisis and everything that's happening at the border. That's saying a lot, right? Saying a lot. But what are the odds that this story breaks 24 hours after all of the attention is being pushed towards this migrant crisis? What are the odds that every single week in America we're hit with one breaking story after the next? Meanwhile, everyone's told, keep looking here, keep looking here, keep looking here. But over here, everything keeps moving into this new direction, this new normal. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you what the new normal looks like for capitalism. And if you're an investor, an entrepreneur, business owner, or you want to be, pay close attention to this so you can position yourself and your portfolio for a world of uncertainty. Please hit the like button. When you hit the like button, YouTube will share this content to educate the people about what's going on in America's economy. And if you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself for funding, if you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative item on your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free strategy session for Monday. Take a look at this. So Texas refuses to back down border standoff with feds. It's a record 302,000 people, right, across the border. Well, look at this. You have Biden backed Senate border deal, right? And this new border deal is 5,000 people per day. So they can legally have 5,000 people per day. So if you take 5,000 times 365 days in a year, it's 1.825 million people per year that would legally be allowed to enter the country, which would be essentially the state of West Virginia every single year, or just a little bit smaller than the entire state of Idaho. That's if the number was exact and no one was skipped in that counting. Now, look at what happened on this date. So January 26th, and all of these stories coming out, 26, right at the same time. And so it says Biden-Harris administration announced temporary pause on pending approvals on natural gas. So they're moving to close down these natural gas refineries here in America. And so when you look at what's going on right now with record high inflation, when you close down these refineries and our oil prices continue to go up, that's going to be inflationary. That's going to push the cost onto the consumer, meaning everything is going to get more and more and more expensive. And so what happens when people are being pushed into a corner is people are going to demand a solution. And this new solution is this green energy transition, which is going to cost $9.2 trillion per year. But how this all works out is just so genius. I mean, it is perfect. Like the timing couldn't be better. So January 18th, 9.2 trillion, right? And I have this set on the settings past month. So clean energy investments for rural Americas are booming. Energy or electricity prices soaring. Global clean energy spending forecast, energy transition. But look at this. As utility bills rise, low-income Americans struggle, right? And they struggle because there's just no access to cheaper energy. And so what's going to happen is we're moving into this new transition. But it reminds me of what happened just a few years ago. A few years ago, everything was about, everything was about saving lives. Everything was about saving lives. Everything was about, protecting your neighbor, being, not being selfish and being a part of the greater good, right? Well, going forward, what's going to happen is everything is going to be about the greater good. The greater good is going to be about green energy, about saving the environment, about, looking after your neighbor, about, social services. All of these things are going to be a part of this greater good. And so you have to look at, what does this mean for landlords? What does this mean for investing? What does this mean for businesses? Well, it's interesting. So presently, this is, they say all of this benefit was administered because of all of these actions that were taken. Maybe, possible, maybe, I don't know. But when you look at this, it says the same exact thing, right? Unaffordable rents are linked to premature death. This is CNBC, December 19th. So start to look at how this connects. December 19th. Then December 13th, rising rents and evictions linked to premature death. Then January 10th, high rent in the U.S., it's harming health and shortening life. I mean, all New York Post, all the same, within the same few weeks, every single outlet basically saying the same thing. Americans who struggle to afford rent die sooner. Princeton, study linked unaffordable rents, early death. So what is this going to mean? It's going to mean that all this weight, all this attention is going to be pushed towards landlords and towards property owners about the unaffordable cost. And so as we start to step into an energy transition, which is likely not going to be free, They even say it, $9.2 trillion a year. And when you have America sitting on $34 trillion in debt, it's essentially 10% of the entire debt load every single year. It's probably going to be inflationary. And so all these costs are going to get pushed on the consumers, and many consumers are going to demand that solution. And that solution is likely going to come at the face of some type of social services package, like a financial, like universal basic income, and probably some large-scale rent control and some massive, massive protections for tenants and migrants and all these different, different classes of people and different people in general. So when you look at all this, it's just very fascinating how this all works. So even in Nebraska is working on this new bill 2 days ago. Nobody knows about this bill. But in this new bill, you're prohibited from evicting a certain tenant if they have a child over the age of, or under the age of 18 years old. So you think about this. If they have a 17-year-old child, 16-year-old child, and they stop paying rent, landlord can't do anything. They have to keep paying the bill. Can't evict the tenant, right, if this passes. It says child means a person who's under the age of 18 years old or is currently enrolled in school or child care. Child means child care and early child education and assistance program. So you start to look at how all of this is changing. You have to connect the dots on what this would mean for real estate investors, for property owners, and business owners. I think that's what all smart Americans and smart entrepreneurs do. They follow trends and they bet on where the trends are going. Trend is that it's going to get harder for landlords. That's a trend. And it's happening everywhere. I mean, there's already 24 states that now offer tenants free legal counsel, access to free attorneys. And this was not the case just a couple of years ago for many of those 24 states. This all rolled in after late 2020, early 2021. It just started rolling in then. So Colorado Democrats push for a law to prevent no-cause evictions. Democratic lawmakers try again for eviction protection in Colorado. Colorado Democrats advance bill to ban evictions, lease terminations without just cause. And they even have it now to where if a tenant provides a screening report, it will be illegal for a landlord to pull their own. They have to take what the tenant is providing. So you start to look at all these different things, you can see clearly where this is all headed. Just cause requirement eviction for residential tenant. This is Colorado, right? Now look at this. Presently, 12% of all renters in America are behind on rent, right? What do you think that number will be if the cost of energy goes up and food costs go up and energy costs go up? I would bet greater than 12%. That's what I would bet. I would bet it might go to 13 or 14 or 15 or 20%. And so if you have this high gap in tenants that can't afford to live, and you've got a lot of property owners and mom and pop investors that can't afford to live, what are you going to start to see? A huge demand for social services. That's what you're going to start to see here. And it's just very interesting when you look at how each state and city is generally funded, you can start to see a really, really big hole that's happening here in the economy. So in California, you start looking at all these different debts. This is debt by state, right? So when you start to look at all the different debts by state, you have to look at, okay, well, how are these debts, or how is the income derived from these for these states? Many of which is income taxes. It is you have residential real estate taxes. You have commercial real estate taxes. What does this look like? When you look at commercial real estate, that has a national vacancy rate of 20%, and these values are crashing. They're falling rapidly. As we start to see interest rates staying higher for longer, insurance and taxes continuing to rise, what is this going to mean? It's going to mean a lot of these properties that are in these states that are getting very, very high contributions for tax revenue, it's going to be reduced. If you have a $100 million property that was sold in 2020 or 2021, and that $100 million property then trades in 2024 for, say, $50 million, what's going to happen? The tax rate is going to be reduced by 50%. And so if this is happening all throughout all these different cities and states, the deficit is going to continue to rise. And at the same time, as we walk into a softening job market, you're going to start to see income taxes, these collections continue to soften as well. And so you're going to just start seeing gaping holes inside of all these different states. It's going to be a really, really big problem. And at the same time, homeowners insurance rates continue to increase, nearly double in some areas. It's just obvious what's going to happen. And you have this tech revolution that's happening in the next couple of years. We're going to start to see social services skyrocket here in America. That's what we're going to start to see here. And I believe what we're also going to watch is we're going to watch millions of Americans lose their homes, lose their properties, lose their businesses, and many, many Americans move out there and start buying up properties, starting certain businesses. Many Americans even getting second passports, investing in different countries. Many Americans are going to start to do things they would have never otherwise thought of doing just because of all of these changes that are already, happening. But that's the world we live in now. We live in a very, very uncertain world. When you go back to how life was at 2015 and 2017, 2018, everything was stable. But now, is there any such thing as stability? I don't think so. I think smart and savvy entrepreneurs are going to be looking at risk differently, looking at trends differently, and putting their money on the table when it makes a lot of sense to do so and when all the facts line up. What do you think about this entire situation? Drop below. Let's have a conversation about this. I think we're walking into something really, really, really big here. Let's have a conversation. If you'd like to fix your credit, we'd love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative item in your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. If you're thinking about getting funding, you're thinking about investing, you're thinking about making big moves during this period of chaos, you're going to need great credit. Go to GreatCreditFast.com if you have any issues on your credit report. I'll catch you next video.